It's a comfort pick for Pedro, and it looks like we're actually already into the match here. Fasty on the unknown here on the Wrecker's Yard, and it looks like we've got an agitation in play, Emmy, and that's possibly the secret that Fasty is looking to hide from Invictus. Maybe going for an early down into a basement hook, because the UVX is an area of effect attack that is going to be Pedro weakened up in the first chase on a double window tile. Moonwalk coming in. That's going to be an instant M1 there from Fasty. Very good start for him. He's got the UVX ready. Shot going to land near the basement as well. What a sure shot there from Fasty. Fired across the bow of Invictus, and that's going to be a first down already.
Okay, you were asking for the best unknown in the world. Fasty just 2 taps the best 1v1 player in the world, making it look easy. Pedro completely caught off guard, predicted perfectly on the UVX, and we immediately have that basement hook as well as a hallucination to TP back to immediately. What a sensational start here.
Yeah, the hallucination on the basement stairs is so important there, Emmy, as Dan now in chase near a jungle gym tile. First UVX going to miss as Dan now back around towards the pallet, and you got to imagine that Fasty is not going to be necessarily committing to this. He needs to make this basement unhook painful. If Pedro goes to second stage and then the tunnel out comes in any reasonable amount of time, that is exactly the ticket that Eclipse is looking for to win this match.
Yeah, we do see Fasty here just trying to patrol the generators nearby, keeping an eye on whether that hallucination is being cleansed or not, because if you look at your hallucinations, you can actually see it wiggle once somebody touches it to stare it down. So Fasty very happy to camp Pedro to second stage here, and the survivors of course know that very well, splitting 3 different generators right now, just fully prioritizing the gen progress, calling out the shots, the snipes by Fasty, but Pedro is going to have, he needs to have a huge chase for his second hook stage, because if we're going into a 3v1 this early, it's looking very, very good for Fasty.
Yeah, and the great thing about this situation for Fasty too is the hallucination on the basement stairs, you can't cleanse that if you're Invictus, because the chances of Fasty teleporting back and immediately hitting you with that weakened status effect is so high, and I mean that would result in possibly a 2-tap on the basement stairs. So Fasty here, he almost wants to leave a little bit to make sure that Invictus actually does come in for the unhook eventually, because if he tries to camp Pedro fully to death, he's losing out on the pain res, as well as Invictus is just content to work on generators here. So Pedro is dropping lower on the second stage there. Fasty continues to fire the UVX around the map, and it is going to be the save now coming in from Rocket down into the basement. And Fasty, what will he do here at this unhook? He's going to go for the hook onto Rocket. Not going to take that hook though, as the down does come in. Pedro off the hook now in the shack, running around the generator, trying to make the window, but a good body block so far from Fasty. He's going to take the UVX weaken instead of the M1 on the Endurance. So Pedro now weakened, running away from the shack. Shot coming in from Fasty, not channeling it just yet, as Pedro is hiding behind that car. Fasty, this could be the shot that they need to take this first match, as Pedro running towards the edge map now, still fully weakened, as the shot is going to miss.
Yeah, and Dan is in position to hit tank if needed. Dan takes an M1, but doesn't really buy a lot of distance for Pedro here. Pedro was kind of just stuck camping the pallet, maybe a bit of miscommunication, but of course you cannot die on that active generator, so Pedro sends it far away, has no real perk to help him chase. Iron Will is gonna come in handy, maybe a bit of fixed-headed value as well. There's a TP on this pallet though. Pallet gets dropped, bit of a stare down. Are we teleporting? Are we not? Great mind game here, and Pedro is so aware of the situation here. Rocket gets picked up, hit tank comes through by Nightlight. Beautiful survivor play. We did not get this car pallet spawn, so Pedro is running all the way back to where Dan's gen just popped, dodges the UVX. This is not going to connect. We're down to 1 generator and Pedro is just running. UVX comes through, misses again. Now we have to break the pallet and players on M1. We only have a 4 lane, but for Pedro that might just be enough, and what was looking so good for Fasty is quickly slipping out of his control. He's going for the fresh hooks, finds Nightlight, who's running into the corner, but Rocket's gen is so high already. They're stacking, they're tripling.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate, but I don't hate this play from Fasty. Going for the Pain Resonance. Will he get it in time? He does have Agitation, but I don't think it's going to be enough, Emmy. And that's going to be the last gen completed with the Fresh Hook onto Nightlight. 2 stages on Pedro, 1 on Nightlight, but all survivors injured. So there's still potential for Fasty to do something here. He needs to get more Fresh Hooks, more stages, as many as he can get. As Pedro, the one working on the door. Smart play from Invictus there, offering up the survivor with hook stages on him already. Terror Radius now onto Rocket. Gonna miss that UVX shot on the broken truck, and it looks like, yeah, committing here is Fasty. Rocket now towards the vault on the broken truck. Gonna get weakened up there with the UVX. Now Rocket gets cut off with the teleport there. Not necessarily close enough to hit, but just to try to get him away from the gate. Shot coming in now from Fasty, not going to land. Nice dodge from Rocket as the body block comes in from Nightlight. That's the survivor with a hook stage. Invictus trying to preserve as many survivors' lives as they can, as that's going to be the weakened onto Rocket once again. And Nightlight is playing interference here so well. Fasty forced to take the M1 onto him and go for an orbital onto those other survivors. But I think, Emmy, he's just going to have to be satisfied with Nightlight.
Yep, that's going to be 5 stages, 2 fresh. When Nightlight was playing the Unknown, he got 7 stages, 3 fresh for his team, I think. So, oh man, that is heartbreaking for Fasty. The early game was so good. A 2-tap onto Pedro into a basement hook and then just unable to get the down onto our Nancy again. Fantastic body blocks coming through, and again, the individual chases by Pedro just on point. This Invictus Survivor side is warming up, and I'm really liking what I'm seeing.
And his power just can't really go around them correctly. So being able to just kick those out efficiently and cleanly, I think Brutal Strength helps a lot here, but Pedro has not brought it as we are into the match. Full regression build, the standard that we've seen on most of our killers these days, unless there's something different going on with the builds. So Pedro already in, finding scratch marks here at the tile, looking back across the map, trying to find survivors crossing, but that is going to be a immediate pre-drop there from whatever survivor this is in the corner. Pedro going to be taking that pallet break, and that's actually Jur found there. He's not even going to make anything here. I mean, that is not a good first hit to give up. He didn't even try to play that filler.
Yeah, just taking the M1 right away, knowing that there are more tiles to be played. We do have a jungle gym, which is outplayable for Wesker. Another filler to be found here. The pallet is not here. Pedro does not connect the virulent bound here. Jur holding the shack spot, but I don't think this is enough. Pedro calls the bluff, wins the M1. Sintra's here to potentially help, but it's too late. And this is too early. It's just too early of a down against Wesker. You're not playing the main, you're just pre-dropping the pallet, you're running away from the jungle gym. You need some confidence and chase, unfortunately. It pains me to say, but we're going into the basement. Role reversal here. Pedro has a great 3-gen on the bottom side of the map, and he is not afraid to play it.
Yeah, and we see a double generator there from Team Eclipse, and I hate to say it, but that against Wesker is the sign of a team that is not confident in their chase. This is a killer that you usually want to be splitting 3 gens against in anticipation of a very strong chase, and now Center being forced to rotate off of generators for this save earlier than he would have liked. You already said it, Emmy, but that first chase was not what we needed here for Eclipse, and now they're going to have to deal with the consequences of Pedro probably thinking that he can just proxy camp this basement, looking for more here as he goes up onto the hill, or he also has the option here of just going for fresh hooks, which is also a valid way to play here on the Wesker, as Pedro in front of the main building, going back towards the shack now. Center has made it into the basement for the save. Pedro, both bounds consumed back towards the basement, as the survivors will run out of the basement. Jur trying to make it to the shack pallet. Body block out from Pedro, but it's not going to be enough as Jur will make the window. He's out of that endurance, though, holding W through the fillers here. I would have liked to see him play the shack. It's connected to some pretty strong stuff, but a body block possibly coming in from Fasty. Maybe the plan is to make it all the way down to the main building here, as Pedro lost significant distance from that body block, and Fasty didn't even actually take an injury. So Jur really needs to lock in here. This is where Eclipse needs to have a do-or-die chase.
Oh no, he's unfortunately dead again, and Pain Res is still available, and it's really coming to bite Eclipse that they were not splitting generators early. I think that stack is putting them so far behind. They're just not really close to popping that many gens, right? We do see Buoy on a generator, but of course with Sinter trying to play for just first chase and the other two survivors stacking a generator, they had us too far behind already on the survivor side. Great bound there by by Pedro onto Fasti, of course, completely catching our Jake off guard. Well played. But we do have Jer on Deathhook. We catch the rotation. It's going to be a trade on the Painless. Sinter fakes it, but was that too much? That's a throw against the rock. And this might indeed be a throw by Team Eclipse. We cannot get the trade. Now only Buoy is on a generator. Fasti injured. Sinter injured, and I think we have to let Jer die here. Disaster for Team Eclipse, and just indecision, right? I see the play. It's cute trying to swing, force the swing by Pedro there, potentially getting the pull for free. But if it doesn't work out and Pedro is just so experienced, it costs you so much.
Yeah, and the reason why that costed them so much was the Jewel Beetle add-on there for WESKER, and that add-on had not shown itself yet in the game until Sinter was thrown. Jer gonna die on hook. Pedro misses that first bound, second one going to land though. Buoy going to be infected there, and Pedro actually achieves complete global saturation in the background. Are you kidding me? Global saturation in my comp DVD?
Every survivor infected right now. Buoy trying to last on the shack, getting mind gamed a little bit by Pedro here, and this is very outplayable with power. Great down, and Pedro is making it look easy again, just pulling out power at the perfect time. Great patience. Outplaying with bounce as well onto Fasti, and these survivors just need to play catch up. Both of them need to get a spray. Sinter is healthy, but his location is going to be revealed to Pedro as well. And they're just so far on the back foot here. Pedro goes to the main building where Sinter is currently spraying, and I think he will be happy to either take this chase or know of Fasti's location, because of course the reset had just come through. Nice bound connecting yet again. Pedro just getting so much value from his power that we just didn't see in Praxis versus Elysium's Mastermind side.
Yeah, and Pedro has so much pressure here that these survivors don't even have time to spray. Fasti is still fully infected, and we don't even know where he is, as this generator has decent progress, but Fasti just now spraying. And when you're at the point against WESKER that you're scared to spray because he'll find you, I think Pedro is absolutely in the driver's seat in this game. I mean, I'm stating the obvious. He sees Fasti running across the map there with that bright red shirt. Pedro now back towards the hook. He should be able to camp Buoy to second here with the lack of gen progress out from Eclipse. Both of these survivors are injured, and with the Jewel Beetle in play, it wouldn't be out of the question for Pedro to be able to end this game.
Yeah, all gens also are erupted because, of course, our survivors just don't have time to put any pressure on them right now. We find the injured Fasti. Sinter rotating for the pull. Buoy hits second off in the distance. We do still have that dropped jungle gen to play, and Pedro barely misses Fasti there, trying to style on the competition. This pallet is still up, but once it's... Ooh, a nice stun there. Great unzoning by Fasti. Makes it to the main building now. But Pedro is in the luxurious position where he can just drop this chase if he wants to, right? He has no pressure on him at all. Even if he still gets a 4k1 here, which I think is quite unlikely, that's still an incredible result.
Now Sinter now playing this Ormond tile palette. Pedro readying that bound around the side, and Sinter gonna get slammed there as Pedro, I mean, it looked like he was just sending it earlier, right? But he does land another fresh hook there onto the Bearmar, and now Fasti forced to rotate for the save once again. And in the 3v1, it's almost as if Buoy can't spray because he doesn't want to give the perfect information to Pedro about which generator he's working, or another Pop Goes the Weasel might come in just a little bit easier. Pedro leaving the hook now, and I think he's right to kind of slow this down, go for the fresh hooks, because the way that you throw this game when you're so far ahead on Killer is by overcommitting to a tunnel out chase and just getting made to look silly by the survivor.
Yeah, and I really like that Pedro is keeping all of the survivors injured. Whoops, a little bit of a vault there. Great play by Buoy. But the survivors, of course, don't have time to reset anymore. And once they were reset, Pedro just made them injured again. Gets the down onto Buoy here. That's going to be the elimination. But yeah, once the survivors are injured in the 3v1 and the pressure is just surmounting, you are winning, right? This is going to sound very basic, but an injured survivor is always easier to down than a healthy one. So just making sure they stay injured rather than committing onto chase is just a smart play in the 3v1. Now, Sinter working a generator, Fasti just holding the check spot on the main building, Pop Eruption, an absolutely brutal build to come into play against the survivors in the 3v1, even worse in the 2v1. 3gen still up. A masterclass by Pedro.
Yeah, and if there's anything Eclipse can do here to possibly get down to a 4K1, they need to do it here just to get less pressure on their killer player. And it doesn't look like that's going to be able to come through, as Fasti and Sinter are both only about 20 and 30% done on their generators. In the 2v1 here against WESKER, it would take a miracle for them to get down to 4K1.
Yeah, a miracle is needed indeed. Fasti did have the sprint burst, makes some great distance here. Sinter, I don't think he has the luxury to get a spray, has to deal with that nasty infection at the 4% hindered. This Pallegim is still up. Fasti sends it, plays another filler, just buying time so that we can somehow pop a 4th generator. iLoop is still up here, but unfortunately, I'm not sure if he makes it, even on ping with the hindered coming into play. Sinter gets downed, and this confirms the 4K2 for Pedro.
Just incredible work there from Pedro, able to, I mean, he spread so much infection there that we had multiple survivors on different occasions unable to spray. And having to do things like unhook, like without even being able to spray. So that 4% hinder does come in to confirm the down on Sinter, as Pedro locks up this 4K2 and puts Invictus in a commanding position to secure the 2-0 in this series.
And I hate to say it, but the Invictus Survivor side is not getting 4K3'd on Mastermind. That is just not happening.
Yeah, I mean, we don't like to always speak in absolutes as casters, but I think I have to agree with you, Emmy, as this is the final chance for Eclipse. And you never want it to all come down to your killer player, right? But it's going to have to be that way this time for the Mastermind on Pole Tower.
Yep, no pressure, Fasti. You can do it. Let's hope so. But yeah, great performance by Pedro there. Just clinical play, right? And we just saw the difference in this.